Welcome to the Spirited Agent Podcast. We're pouring wisdom and sipping success one episode at a time. The Spirited Agent was created to empower agents to navigate the ever-evolving world of insurance and grow their business. Grab your glass and let's get inspired to protect your clients from the unknown. Here's your hosts, Millennium Brokerage Group Legacy Planning Executives, Jason Combs and Matt Zelenik.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Spirited Agent. Let's go ahead and get into what we're sipping on today. So today we have Jack Daniel's single barrel, barrel-proof rye. This is a little near and dear to us because Jack Daniel's is in our backyard here in Tennessee. So we've spent a lot of time in Lynchburg. I know both Jason and I go to the lake down there at Tim's Ford. So we thought we'd just start with a little hometown brew.
You know, the Jack Daniel's, they always talk about having a little bit of a banana finish. Do you pick that up on this one?
I get a little more in the smell, but I would never pick up on this being Jack Daniel's. I'm not a huge Tennessee whiskey person, but that's kind of more from like the batches and stuff. But this, as a single barrel proof, is delicious.
Yeah, it's very good.
So I know you're a little more well-versed on the history than me. You were kind of telling me, and I'd heard this, but you had more information on it about Jack Daniel's and his a little bit of, I don't know if it was early demise, but he has an interesting death story.
Yeah, right. Jack was actually a little guy. He was not very tall. And he had an office that was in an old building that was adjacent to the distillery. And if you take the tour, you'll go in there. You could tour it today, but when you go in there, there's a big safe. And there was some happenings that kind of made him a little angry. Walked into his office and kicked the safe. And I think he was also a stubborn guy, according to some reports, and would not go to the doctor. And he got an infection in the foot, and it went up into his leg, and it ended up costing him his life.
What a way to go out.
What a way to go out, right?
All right, so let's just get into what we're going to talk about today. So
let's do it.
We'd like to talk on, the struggles that agents face, some solutions to remedy those struggles, and also just some opportunities in the marketplace. I know you and I have some pretty constant conversations, honestly, in settings similar to this, maybe not quite as much bourbon on working hours, but what do you think agents are dealing with, struggling to get done on the day-to-day basis?
I think agents struggle with operational efficiencies. We see a lot of struggles getting agents contracted properly. That process, everybody thinks it's going to go a lot faster than it really does.
I think contracting is a struggle that the carriers have. I mean, it's no matter what you have in your mind as a time process for this, just add a couple weeks to it.
Sure.
Contracting, it just never seems to go smoothly, whether it's on paper or online. I mean, even if it's not the length of the process of getting it done, it's, the whole application.
Sure. Yeah, I feel like anytime you're dealing with a new carrier, that your first experience with them is always going to be a little bit off because everybody's so different and they have their different processes and things. And so your first experience with that is the contracting. And to your point, you really need to give that a solid 2 to 3 weeks and let it get processed efficiently before. And it seems like when you rush that process, it just makes it worse.
Agents a lot of times put in an application and contracting at the same time, and they kind of want that, they're expecting the app to start getting processed the next day. But if you submit app and contracting at the same time, which is fine in most states, but you have to have realistic expectations from there on out.
Sure.
On, what that's going to look like.
Right. Yeah, and it really depends on what type of case you have as well. I mean, if it's a larger universal life transaction where it's going to be some in-depth underwriting that's going to happen and that's going to take a while, then you're okay with submitting contracting in the app at the same time. But on the flip side, we see a lot of transactional business that gets done, a lot of simplified underwriting things that may get done in a day or two. And you really don't want to see contracting holding those type of things up.
Yeah, and on the life insurance side, specifically term, there's a push to get all that done quicker with like instant issue products and stuff like that.
The other area that I think we see, so you got the contracting, then you also have case management. We see a lot of it. What do you see from some of the agents you work with and even some of the business that you do personally from a case management perspective?
Lately, the biggest issue I've been seeing from a case management standpoint is probably not on the case management side or even on the carrier side. APSs are now taking a very long time. When an APS has to be ordered, the hospital or the physician's office may get it to you in 2-3 days.
Sure.
But some of them have a mandatory 30 business day turnaround. That one's really frustrating because from an agent standpoint, I mean, I've been there. I've got a client, telling me, hey, it's been a couple weeks, like any update. And I'm just seeing, carrier has ordered the APS, such X hospital has 21-day turnaround. And so I just have to keep going back to the client and being like, we're in a holding pattern right now, strictly because your medical records.
Sure.
And it's really interesting when the client's actually a physician and they're waiting on their medical records.
One of the things that where people that handle it best is when they take the time to communicate expectations with their customer. Send your customer a text, give them a quick call, shoot them an email, and just say, hey, look, we put the order in, but it's going to take a little while. We're working on it. Our team's, we're doing everything we can to get it. And just give them an update. I think setting the right expectations is the biggest piece. I mean, the average case in our industry takes 45 days.
Yeah.
And so to set an expectation that it's going to be done quicker than that is unrealistic.
Yeah. I mean, I think in an era where you can Amazon Prime ship pretty much anything to your house the next morning.
Sure.
The insurance industry is pretty far behind on speed of processing. I think people have become accustomed to getting what they want so fast.
Sure.
And so what you said about setting the expectations is pretty important. Every week I'll send actually today I just sent in a third update and nothing had changed to a client because we're waiting on an APS. Jason, let's say you have 10 clients that you have put applications in now. You're waiting for updates from the carrier. You're wanting to update your client.
One of the things that I do personally is I take the time and I usually do it on Sunday night or first thing Monday morning, but I kind of lay out my week. But I would open up my pending report and I would just kind of remind myself of what customers that I have pending. Because, we all get busy. We all get into a bunch of stuff. I make a list of those customers because if you got 10 or 12 cases going, it's easy to, and maybe you got one that's a little bit smaller. It's not super important to you, whatever. This at least reminds me of the workload that I have.
Yeah.
We have a team of case managers that work really, really hard to get your cases done. And if you look at all the correspondence that goes back and forth with one case, it's unreal. I mean, sometimes you'll see 30, 40 different emails back and forth on one file. And so, our team works really hard to streamline this process to you. They work really hard to give you an update on a weekly basis. And I think best practice is when you get that email from your case manager, just take a minute and update your customer. But if you can just set the expectation with the customer, hey, we're still trying to get your medical records. We're putting in calls. We're doing this. We're doing that. We've sent over the request. We paid for them. And we're waiting for them to return it back to us. As soon as we get that back from you, we're going to be taking this to the insurance company, connecting with the insurance company and trying to get this done for you.
I can speak from personal experience. If I don't see that and do that immediately, there's a great chance that I just forget to update the client. And then I don't remember until the client's like, hey, what's going on?
Right.
And then I'm kind of scrambling because I got to go back and see. I feel like I should have sent it and I didn't. So that's one of those things when it pops in, just turn around and fire it back off.
A lot of customers will tell you they want to buy insurance, but they don't do it. The process scares the customer. They don't want to get a medical exam. They don't want people looking through their medical records. But once they take that step, they've taken that step because they trust their agent to do so. If you look at industry stats, people are not buying insurance off the internet yet. They're still relying on their trusted agent to do so. They put the faith in that trusted agent to take an application. If you just walk customers through that process, keep them engaged, then the likelihood of that case going in force goes up drastically.
We're not team carrier specifically. We're team client. What do you see as time management issues like in the sales process? So before you even get to some of the back end underwriting and whatnot,
agents struggle with how to allocate their time. They got a lot going on. They've got to run a business. They've got customers to deal with. They've got employees to deal with. In this business, when agents really develop a model to go about doing their life insurance business are those that have the most success. One is you could partner with a financial life insurance or financial service professional. There's a couple different ways you can partner. I mean, you could bring somebody kind of in full time as your life insurance, as your annuity, as your financial professional. That's where we probably provide the most value to the agents that we work with, we can almost be like a sales manager to that person.
Right.
We're in conversation with those people every day. We do a lot of case design where we talk to people and say, all right, here's kind of what I'm working on. I got this client that's trying to accomplish this, or they're trying to accomplish that. We typically provide a few different solutions. I think that's one of the areas that we provide a lot of leverage in this scenario, is just kind of talking to your people on a day-to-day basis and helping them kind of come up with the solutions with their customers.
I think it comes down to being more intentional with your business. You can feel like you're going in too many different directions. Like you've got your property and casualty book. You're also trying to sprinkle in a bit of life sales, do some annuities. But I think being intentional and partnering with somebody like us at Millennium, who can come in and kind of almost act like a part-time employee. We're not on payroll, but we're here to help you. And, we can be talking with your people, helping with case management, product knowledge, all that stuff, and alleviate some of that time off your books, essentially. In the spirit of trying to gain back a little bit of time and being more intentional with your business, one thing we see is, an issue with there's so many carriers out there. Like, we have like 30 plus carriers for life. So how do you kind of, wade through the weeds on the carriers? Like, what do you recommend there for agents?
There are certainly times when having a number of carriers is going to be very important. If you have a real challenging underwriting case, being able to shop that out to the marketplace is very important. It starts with sitting down with your RVP, having an honest conversation with how you're going to run an intentional life insurance business.
Yeah. What is your client?
You got to narrow down what your client looks like. One business model, maybe you're just trying to write, simple term insurance.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think we have some carriers that fit writing simple term insurance. You don't necessarily always want to sell the cheapest product because, I've always used the old rental car analogy. I spent 20 years on the road as a regional sales guy. I'd land in Chicago as an example, and I'd walk through the airport. I'd come across the rental car agencies, and I'd look over, and I could always tell who had the cheapest price because they had
the line was
37 people in line to get a car. Yep. And I think to myself, I'm so glad I did not pick that company because I don't want to wait for 50 minutes to get my car. I want to get my car and move on down the road. And in the life insurance business, you see that a lot because the cheapest price tends to have the longest line. Every scenario is going to be different. So you don't want to be, as an agent, you don't want to be stuck selling 10 life insurance policies in a given year with 8 different companies. Because you've got to service that book of business. You've got to go to their website to pull customer statements. You got to do enough business with these carriers so they keep you contracted. So we want to look for products that have good value. But when you're doing transactional term insurance, you really want to focus on the process. And we have a few carriers that just kind of absolutely just hit a slam dunk on the process. I think one of the big mistakes that a lot of agents take on when they get connected to a brokerage shop like us and they see all the carriers that we represent, it's like a kid in a candy store. What we have seen is when people kind of get deep with our best relationships, it's not just necessarily about, who illustrates the best. You also got to look at how underwriting's done. If you're trying to do a lot of business, you want to pick somebody that's got a good underwriting process. And the deeper you get with that process, the more efficient you're going to become at it. And that allows you to be more efficient in the way you do your business. You got to compare the proposal with actual performance as well. In my opinion, that's something we need to focus more on in the insurance business, is how our past policies have actually performed. That's something that people need to take a look at. Use our expertise to kind of pick your best carriers to get deeper with. If you're trying to design income for people, there's a couple clear winners on who has the best solution for getting guaranteed income benefit base for customers. If you're in the accumulation space and looking as like an alternative to your bond portfolio, there's some carriers that we really like in that space as well.
I think it kind of boils down to, learn the demographics of your clients and figure out those bread and butter carriers that fit those.
Sure.
And then, rely on somebody else, namely us, for expertise on kind of the off-the-wall scenarios. Like, certain carriers, if somebody has a health issue, like if somebody has diabetes, there's certain carriers that are going to be better for that.
Right.
And those usually don't change. So you kind of learn those things and it evolves a little over time and you get better at it as it goes. But I think, what you said about picking a few to start off with, because you can't just learn everything about all of them off the bat. Right. So got to pick a few, master those, rely on somebody else for the scenarios that don't fit into those few, and then eventually kind of evolve over time and learn more about how it goes.
Absolutely.
And then once you figure it all out, it changes. So
I just had a case on a 57-year-old that was looking for $5 million of insurance. His conversation with his agent was like, I'm not doing a medical exam. I'm not getting poked. I'm not having somebody out. If you can get me this insurance without getting a medical exam, I'll do it. And so I had a conversation with the agent and I said, listen, 57, $5 million, that's at the very...
That's sounding like an uphill battle already.
It's an uphill battle. And I said, hey, we can try, but I'm not optimistic.
Right.
We put a $4 million application in for term insurance, was approved instantly. This guy had a policy within 2 days. And so this carrier has an additional coverage program that basically says, hey, look, if we just approve you for term insurance, we can now offer you a permanent life insurance policy without any additional underwriting. So the guy, that's exactly what he wanted. $4 million a term, $1 million permanent. Bingo, done. We got it all done within a week.
And if you just went out on your own and were like, I'm going to get contracted with a couple carriers to sell life insurance and I'm going to start working in my book to sell some extra policies, there's almost no possible way unless you just stumbled across a flyer on that information, there's almost no possible way you could know that program exists because there's just so many carriers, so many programs.
You really got to learn their process. Let's say you do an electronic application on somebody and you send it in. Some carriers are still doing telephone interviews.
Yep.
A lot of went to the online interview, where they'll email the customer a link. Mm-hmm. And the customer will do it on their phone. We've got better experience with those. The way they sign is all different. Some wait till the very end. Some need it, upon submission. Some email. Some best practices is again to get deep with a couple carriers that fit the business model that you're looking to accomplish. So,
but just know you don't have to know everything in this industry. There's too much to know. And I think there's actually a plus to saying, I don't know. I tell people all the time, I may know, I may not know, but I say, hey, let me double check on that with some of the experts I know. And I think presenting that you have access to a team of experts is far better than looking like the expert yourself. People are skeptical. You can't know everything. If you're presenting yourself as an expert, what I say is end all be all, I think that's putting a rift of distrust in the relationship already.
Sure.
So by approaching your client and saying, I don't know, and I will ask my team, I'll go to Millennium or I'll go to the person in my office who does know and ask them and get you the correct answer to make sure that I'm telling you 100% the correct answer. Providing your client with that honesty, leads to a lifetime client and not just a one-time sale.
As an agent, I think your biggest job is know your customer. There's an old platform called same side selling, and we talked about this a little bit ago, but be on the same side of the table as your customer. Take care of your customer, ask them good questions, and then come and use your team of professionals to help provide the solutions.
Yeah, I think you approach every meeting with your client not going into it saying, hey, what can I sell this person? But going into it with the mindset of, what can I take away from this meeting? What can I understand about this person? So therefore I can go home and chew on it and figure out a solution to help them out or insure them, protect what they have.
And one of the great ways to even approach some of those scenarios is to ask your customer, when's the last time you had your policies reviewed? Stay on the same side of your customer. Hey, just want to make sure the policies you've bought in the past are accomplishing your goals today. Mm-hmm. And, a lot of times we find out that, some of the main reasons, people forget why they bought things.
Right.
And so it gives you a real opportunity to reevaluate their goals, what it is that they're trying to accomplish, take a look at their current policies and see how they're set up to handle that. One of the big challenges the industry has had is, we've been dealing with historic low interest rates for a really, really long time. And that's put a pretty big financial constraint on a lot of these carriers. A lot of insurance companies have really scaled back on the resources they make available to them. That even provides a lot more value in what it is that we do, because you do not have the same resources at the insurance company as you used to. The question we always get asked is, why should I do my business with Millennium versus, somebody else? Well, my answer to that is, I want to deal with somebody that I can trust, that has integrity, and they're going to be here tomorrow. This isn't just about the business that you can put on the books this year. It's about fulfilling promises to your customers.
Yeah.
And, if you look at our team, we've got a tenured team that's been in this business. We're committed to stay in this business.
I think part of it is looking at why you got in the insurance industry in the first place. I mean, there's nothing flashy about selling insurance. People aren't lined up out the door to buy it.
Right.
It's not a cool thing to purchase.
Sure.
Not really a cool thing to sell. As agents, we're insuring lives and legacies. We're insuring if somebody were to pass away unexpectedly, or even passing on generational wealth to their children. There's no point in taking all your money in your grave with you, but
Sure.
you can mix in insurance there and pass on generational wealth to your kids without having to, pass on everything that you made yourself. Yeah, so we were talking about how the industry is, behind the times technologically standpoint.
Sure.
So I kind of always generally think it seems like we're about 10 years behind, what everybody else is.
Sure.
So what do you see technological standpoints agents can kind of look to ease the time process or increase business, or really just take some extra tasks off their plates?
The insurance industry has always been behind a little bit in technology, but we are seeing advancements there, as you pointed to. One of the big things just here in the last couple of weeks, we now have a couple carriers that will offer up to $5 million instant issue term insurance, and even permanent insurance for that standpoint. So, that's all technology based, because, the insurance companies are able to, better assess mortality based without being as invasive. And invasive meaning they don't have to necessarily have a customer go through a big lengthy insurance exam or get their medical records. They're able to look in certain databases, ask more specific questions, interview the customer, and get into, offer up, immediate solutions for customers and not having to wait as long. So I see that continuing to evolve. The underwriting process will continue to be more efficient. And I also see the application process becoming more efficient as well. I actually believe as technology continues to evolve, the value that we bring to the table is going to be more prevalent, because as an individual agent, you can no longer afford to buy all this technology. With the fixed annuity space, now pretty much every carrier that we represent requires an electronic application.
Mm-hmm.
If you're an individual agent and you've got to buy that technology, it's pretty expensive. It's expensive for us.
I mean, yeah, these systems to run spreadsheets and to apply, I mean, they're $15,000, $20,000, $25,000 a year.
Absolutely.
And when you really look at what you need 3 or 4 of these services.
You need 3 or 4, maybe even 4 or 5. Yeah.
But you could be looking at $100,000 in technology, and then you got your marketing budget to look at. Partnering with somebody like us, you can alleviate the technology budget at least.
One of the things that we've been able to do here is do a lot more educational events for customers. I really see this as an opportunity for us to, help you as an agent market into your customer base.
Those kind of range from either like myself or Jason being on there as an expert, or bringing in somebody from either a carrier level, an industry expert, and presenting in a non-salesy way, just a strictly educational presentation, asking, follow-up questions, allowing the audience to ask. We've seen pretty good success. So, we're seeing anywhere from 75 to about 400 to 500 kind of register for these. Those actually kind of transition into some leads there. It lends you to be an expert in providing them information, whether you're the one on there or you bring somebody else in.
Perception's reality. So if you're putting on educational events for your customer base, lend your customer to believe that you're an expert in that space. We're doing one here next month in June on disability insurance. And so if your customer is considering buying disability insurance, they don't necessarily have to attend the webinar to realize that you're a specialist in that. And so it just puts kind of a subliminal message in the customer's mind. Hey, if I'm looking for disability insurance, my agent just did a big educational thing on that. And that may be somebody I at least want to talk to, or maybe I got a friend that I can refer over to him. So Matt, let me ask you, if you're an agent and you wanted to do one of these educational events, how would you get started?
I might just call up Jason and say, what would you do for the first step? How do you get these set up? It entails picking a topic, depending on what your system and your CRM looks like. If you can whittle it down to certain demographics, like let's say you're talking something along the lines of retirement, you may want to whittle your demographics down to age. I mean, you could go as low as age like 45 through 65.
Sure.
Get them in that prime time to help offer some solutions. Either you're the expert or find somebody who is an expert that and you can provide their services. I mean, it's as simple as getting the invite out if you got the emails. I mean, we can help you with follow-up emails if you want us to write the copy for it. I mean,
sure.
we've done all that. We've written the copy for all our follow-up emails.
Sure.
So,
one plug here, I mean, we're seeing fixed annuity rates at an all-time high. You could have a lot of customers that are looking for some security. Just getting it out there, talking to customer about tax deferral. If they've got CDs down at the bank, you got to pay taxes on those things as the capital gains. This allows you to get in, get some tax deferral, not pay the tax, get a little higher interest rate, protect you against market downturns, things of that nature. So, and I tell you, one of the things that we've done here is we've really utilized AI and helping with some of our marketing. You can be very specific on what it is that you want to say to a customer.
Mm-hmm.
And this AI technology will give you some really good marketing messages that you can send out to customers. And you don't necessarily have to worry about your grammar and spelling and all that kind of stuff.
And you can tweak it to sound more personal as well.
Absolutely.
All right. So we've talked about some struggles and solutions to those issues. How do you see taking that knowledge and applying it to the marketplace right now? So, like in a nutshell, what are some opportunities that you see out there at the moment?
We're pretty bullish on the opportunities in the marketplace right now, and I think that's actually some of the things that agents struggle with is they really don't look at the financial services business, life insurance, annuities, long-term care space as a true profit center for their agency. When if you look at a lot of stuff in the marketplace, I believe there's a lot of opportunity in the marketplace. And some of that belief is based off of just the current market conditions that are out there. I mean, probably one of the biggest things that are out there right now is, I mean, we're coming off of a pretty long bull marketplace in the equity marketplace. So customers have done very, very well with their equity holdings. The stock market's been very, very good for a lot of people. But now we're seeing a lot of people that are, a little more bearish. They're more concerned with the market conditions moving forward. There's a lot more volatility that exists today than there ever has been. One of the things that we've seen, especially in the annuity space, is people's retirement. It needs to last for, in some situations, up to 30 years.
Yeah, people are living a lot longer.
They're living a lot longer and they're enjoying life a lot longer. Mm-hmm. So if you think back, 20, 30 years ago, I mean, people worked until age 65 and, and the average age back then was you died at 75.
Yeah.
And so, really those last 10 years, people did not lead a very active lifestyle. Statistics show if you got a husband and wife and they make it to 65, both of them, there's a 90% chance that one of them are going to live to above 90. Yeah. So it's very possible.
25, 30 years at
25, 30 years in retirement. So, and the other thing that people got to take into consideration are the type of retirement plans that exist today. 15, 20 years ago, people had to find benefit plans. They received
pensions are gone for the most part.
Pensions are absolutely gone. So there's no more guaranteed paychecks in retirement. Having some guaranteed income coming in to take care of basic living expenses is more important now than it ever has been. The primary narrative in this country has been just invest in the S&P 500 and, the market's going to go up, 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 and you'll always be okay. But, there's a lot of things that come into play that have not been addressed in today's marketplace. Taxes is a big thing. We all have to pay the tax man. And there's a lot of things out there that suggest taxes could possibly go higher. The Tax Cut Jobs Reconciliation Act that Donald Trump put into place, that's set to expire next year. If no changes are made to that, taxes are going up, and that brings back estate taxes. And nobody really has had to deal with estate taxes in this country for the last 10 years. If you start looking at estate taxes coming back around, there could be huge opportunities in the life insurance marketplace, and people have not planned for that. So that creates a lot of opportunity. So we want to bring some stuff to the marketplace that can really help people make this into a true profit center.
If you were an agent, what would you be on the lookout for in that arena right now as an opportunity?
Yeah, I think what I would be doing is I'd be focused in on my business clients, my commercial customers. And, going back to the thing we talked about earlier, just get to know your customer base. One of the things that we can help people out with is just doing a business valuation. A lot of small businesses, they really do not have a very good idea of what their business is truly worth. We've got means to help them get a business valuation done to really determine what their business is truly worth. I mean, these people have spent a lifetime building this business. And so their business is their legacy.
And many times they haven't taken the opportunity to even figure out what it's worth. They've been too busy building it. So I think a lot of it starts with just, talking to your current customers. One of the challenges we see in today's environment, because the future of estate taxes is uncertain, everybody has taken an uncertain approach to it. It's the wrong approach because your insurability period only lasts for so long. And there's nothing worse than finally convincing a customer that they need to plan for their legacy and then realizing later that they're uninsurable. Plans in today's environments are flexible. We can help you design a plan that can change as the economic and as the tax environment changes. And so my suggestion would be to, it's better to get started down the path. Let's get started with something, and we can work with that over a period of time and change that as your situation changes, as our situation in this country changes. So Matt, if we believe there's a lot of opportunity in the marketplace right now with some of the stuff we just talked about, higher interest rates, creating more demand for our products. One of the other things we didn't hit on quite yet is because insurance is it's been flat, life insurance has been flat. There's fewer people in this marketplace. Something we've talked a lot about here is how to market effectively to your customer base. If you're an agent and you want to make life insurance and annuities a profit center for your agency, it's all got to start with talking to customers about it, marketing to those customers. Going back to being intentional with which marketing channels you want to commit to. And then I've always thought from a marketing standpoint, you can't say, hey, I'm going to run this for a month. You got to do a 6-month to a 12-month runway. You have to commit to spending the dollars to see if they work. If you're going to commit to something, pick it and commit and see how it works out for you. If that doesn't work at that point, then, try a different channel.
One of my mentors in this business used to say that there were 6 keys to selling life insurance. And the first 3 are see people, and the last 3 are ask them to buy. And I think today's marketplace is different. You're not the definition of seeing people is different now. I would say instead of see people, you've got to connect with people, and then ask them to buy. And so marketing to me is all about connecting those people with the right type of message. As a Millennium Brokerage Group, how can we help people market in the marketplace?
We're trying to create more content. So if you want to share what we're doing, great. If you would like us to help you maybe produce something or help you out with some marketing messages, we'd love to get involved there. I would never tell you that we're experts, but I think in an industry that's kind of behind on marketing, we're trying. I think we've always committed to try here at Millennium and keep pushing. We've been around 25 years, so we're committed to being here. We would love to partner with you on anything we can think of. I mean, one of our newest mediums is this podcast right here, first episode today. And so, we'd like to try with you and help you.